A very good morning to you out there. It is a pleasure to welcome you to News at 10, reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. I am Chimobi Walter Naji.
And I'm Comfort Amadu. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's get started with the headlines, Chimobi.
Nigeria's COVID-19 cases rise to 873 following 91 new confirmed cases across 8 states, plus the FCT.
Presidential task force on COVID-19 appeals to state governments to avoid congregational prayers during Ramadan.
The suspension of obligatory religious activities such as Jumat, congregational, and other sessions during the month of Ramadan. I similarly implore all state governors to please consider these directives before taking further decisions.
Earth Day in the face of COVID-19, correspondent examines imperatives of action to sustain the gains of this ecosystem.
An Economic Sustainability Committee increases option towards turning current economic challenges into opportunity for Nigerians.
That Mr. President has asked us to do is to devise a strategy in order to be able to keep the economy going.
Thanks for being with us. Now it's at 11:25 p.m. on April the 22nd. Nigeria Center for Disease Control announced 91 new cases in Nigeria, increasing the number of confirmed cases to 873. Now, of the 91 new cases, 74 in Lagos, 5 in Kaduna, 4 in Ogun, 2 each in Edo and Delta State, and 1 each in the FCT, Kwara, Oyo, and Adamawa State. 197 patients so far has been discharged with 28 deaths.
Meanwhile, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has appealed to state governments to ensure compliance with the directives by the Sultan of Sokoto for Muslims to avoid congregational prayers during the coming Ramadan period. This was at the daily briefing by the task force in Abuja. Mitai Rickman reports.
This year's Ramadan will certainly be one with a difference, as many states are on lockdown in the bid to contain the spread of coronavirus. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force, Boss Mustafa, acknowledged that the decision to suspend congregational prayers during the period is sacrificial but necessary to prevent community transmission.
I want to use this medium to thank His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto, for endorsing the recommendations of the Emergency Fatwa Committee by issuing a statement on the suspension of obligatory religious activities such as Jumat, congregational, and other sessions during the month of Ramadan. I similarly implore all state governors to please consider these directives before taking further decisions.
Respite came the way of university lecturers whose salaries were withheld for not being on the IPPIS platform.
Mr. President has approved the immediate payment of the withheld February and March 2020 salaries of lecturers not registered on the IPPIS platform. All Vice Chancellors are to revalidate the BVN of the affected lecturers before the Accountant General of the Federation can carry out the payments.
On the spate of community transmission of coronavirus in the country, the task force says its searchlight is on Kano and other high-risk states.
Federal Ministry of Health, through the Chief Consultant Epidemiologist, has been with the Public Health Department of Kano State to find out what was true about the news of burials going on there. if these burials were out of normal, and they are carrying out further questioning of people to see what was peculiar. Since there was no record and no test done of the deceased, the answer will come up in a few days' time when the epidemiologists bring their results.
Nigerians were again advised to disregard fake news not emanating from the daily briefings of the task force.
I must reiterate that the task force has not released any official statement on a complete lockdown. I request that the public and the media exercise caution in circulating or publishing unverified news.
The security agencies are working around the clock to apprehend and unveil those who are behind this spate of fake news.
The Presidential Task Force puts the recovery rate from the coronavirus in the country at more than 90% and appeals to Nigerians who experience symptoms not to go into hiding, but report such symptoms promptly to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control in Abuja, Mitaire, Ikben, NTA News.
The Economic Sustainability Committee, chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, is enlarging the pool of options to open Nigeria in achieving the administration's plan to turn the current economic challenges to opportunity for Nigerians.
And State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that the new sustainability plan is almost ready for submission to the President for approval.
The Economic Sustainability Committee is leaving no stone unturned for the new federal government post-COVID-19 economic stimulus. For example, earlier in the week, on Tuesday to be precise, Chairman of the committee, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, through a video conferencing, met with the representatives of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. The committee has been collaborating with domestic sectors of the Nigerian economy, and now the Vice President is interfacing with international agencies for the purpose of rolling out options as President Muhammadu Buhari has directed.
What Mr. President has asked us to do is to devise a strategy in order to be able to keep the economy going, and also to make provisions to ensure that we're able to retain jobs and indeed even provide more jobs.
We're looking at various ways and means to support each sector of the economy, providing for each sector clear interventions that will be designed with the primary purpose of creating jobs and ensuring that businesses stay afloat during these difficult times.
The 7-member Economic Sustainability Committee was set up as a response to the challenges in the economic front resulting from the fall in the prices of oil in the international market, as well as the disruptive impact of the pandemic that has disrupted the global economy. And it is expected to submit its report soon. And from every indication, the President intends to act speedily on the Osinbajo Committee's report in the State House. Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And amidst the ravaging effects of COVID-19 and a subsequent crash in oil prices, the 3 tiers of government still got up to 780.926 billion naira raised in the month of March to share at the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC. A statement of account issued by the Federation Account Allocation Committee in Abuja indicates that the amount comprised statutory revenue, value-added tax, VAT and exchange gain. Balance in the excess crude account now stands at $72.221 million. The statement by Henshaw Gubike, Director Information at the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, revealed that in the month of March, taxes, duties and royalties all recorded substantial increases. And the monthly meeting was held through virtual conferencing due to the homebound in Abuja and some states of the Federation occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, the federal government unfolds new strategies towards curbing the food shortages. Details with Abdul Karim Zomi on our business desk.
The new plans for free movement of agricultural produce nationwide was unveiled in Abuja to reduce food shortages in the country within the period of the COVID-19 lockdown. Minister of Agriculture, Sabo Nanono, who disclosed this at a meeting in Abuja, has further appealed to relevant security agencies to allow vehicles conveying perishable goods, such as farm products, livestock, and farm inputs, to pass through without compromising on health or national security measures. He says this will serve as a pardon for sellers, as it will ensure safe operations of farmers, grain markets, livestock, dealers, and sellers during the lockdown. In the meantime, average price of 1 kilogram of rice increased by 21% year-on-year to 438.66 naira in March 2020. Selected Food Price Watch data for March 2020 reflected that the average price of 1 dozen of agric eggs, medium-sized, increased year-on-year by 0.29% and month-on-month by 2.87% to 461.15 naira in March 2020 from 448.26 naira in February 2020. Now let's head to the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to see how the market fared on Wednesday, 22nd of April, 2020. With business news, Abdul Karim Zermi.
And owing to the serious impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the global economy, as well as its effects on Nigerian economy and by extension the Plateau State economy, Plateau State Governor Simon Bakolalong has directed the State Economic Advisory Council, headed by Chief Ezekiel Gomos, to immediately brainstorm and come up with practical and comprehensive strategies on the sustainability and continuation of the state economy under COVID-19. To ensure that Plateau State adapts to this new economic reality, the governor has equally directed the council to put together a post-COVID roadmap for the Plateau State economy, especially for its revival and recovery. And to achieve this task, the governor has mandated the council to liaise and consult extensively with all ministries, departments and agencies, local government councils, key private sector players in the state, in the manufacturing, agriculture, banking and finance, hospitality and entertainment, trade and commerce, ICT, mining sector and other important stakeholders like the small-scale business operators, the informal sector, trade associations, chambers of commerce, development partners, NGOs and CSO, labor unions and others. The council is expected to submit periodic policy and strategic recommendations to the governor on the state's economy under the COVID-19 and beyond.
Now, the Bureau of Public Enterprise, BPE, has continued its disbursement of palliatives to the less privileged to ease the pressure and hardship of the lockdown on vulnerable Nigerians.
300 women and physically challenged residents of Gupe village at Lugbe area, Federal Capital Territory, are the latest to receive the food items. Olusheye Adiago completes the report.
The lockdown in Nigeria has entered the third week, with concerned parties describing the government's lockdown policy as a right measure to stop the spread of COVID-19. It's burden weighs down on the living standard of many. The Bureau of Public Enterprises BPE believes widows, single mothers, and the aged, as well as physically challenged, constitute the most vulnerable in situations such as these, and they constitute beneficiaries of the BPE humanitarian intervention. Adam has been working with crushes for over 10 years. For her and Teni Ezra, observing the stay-at-home order has been difficult, and this gesture is a huge relief.
No, it has not been easy for me. By God's grace, I will know how to manage it before the things is over.
I pray that God will protect everybody and we thank government in Jesus' name.
Director General of the agency, Alex Oko, explains that the exercise is targeted at its host community in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and so far, about 1,200 households have benefited.
4 weeks ago, we were at Dutse Alaji community. 3 weeks ago, we were at Yemitu village. Last week, we were at Durumi in Pape area, and today is the 4th outing. We're in the Gbokpe community in Lugbe area. Today again, we're going to be distributing 300 bags. So in total, this will make it 1,200 bags. And so we have impacted in the course of this intervention about 1,200 families so far.
Alex Oko added that the crisis of COVID-19 will soon be a thing of the past and enjoined Nigerians to adhere to medical advice in winning the fight.
My advice to individuals is that we follow the directives of the government and the medical and health experts, which currently is stay at home, maintain social distancing, and then maintain hygienic standards. And by the grace of God, we hope that we will overcome this pandemic.
I would say I'm very happy. One director came here with his colleagues that they want to give us the food. I don't know where we got composting in this my community.
The chief of the area, Danjuma Gajere, also appreciated the gesture, describing it as timely. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
All right, many thanks for being with us. You're still watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. More reports when we return. Stay with us. Thanks for being with us. Now, if there is any time to tackle climate sensitive action, that time is now, with the coronavirus pandemic proving to humanity that man can limit his destruction of nature.
Onenge Fine-Face in this report examines the imperative of action to sustain gains recorded by the ecosystem under global lockdowns within the framework of World Earth Day 2020.
In the words of Ni Oshundare, a poet, the earth is ours to plow and plant. Our earth is an unopened greenhouse, a bustling barn in some far uncharted jungle, a distant gem in a rough unhappy dust. This earth is ours to work, not to waste, ours to man, not to maim. This earth is ours to plow, not to plunder. These words bemoan the attitude of man who plunders, exploits and maims the earth for profit and pleasure.
Our exploitative use of the ecosystem has led to reduced options for future use temporarily or permanently, as well as disruptions of biogeochemical cycles, as well as emerging infectious diseases like we're witnessing now.
Like Oshundare, the global community is speaking against the beleaguered natural world laid waste by capital pursuits. World Earth Day, celebrated for 50 years now, mobilizes humanity to protect the earth.
It's a time to determine that we're going to halt deforestation. A time we're going to determine that we're not going to carry on polluting in the way we've been doing in the past. And in fact, it's time for Nigeria to dramatically shift away from dependence on petroleum resources for national revenue and as well as for power generation.
The theme for 2020, Climate Action, presents opportunities for man to rethink his actions to protect rather than plunder the earth. And COVID-19 is forcing the world to do this.
There is really so much that we can do as stakeholders to ensure that Mother Earth is preserved. This is the only planet that we have where we actually can live. So it's up to us to ensure that we preserve this earth.
For those who still intend to destroy the ecosystem, like Oshundare, we ask, are they of this earth who live that earth may die? But for those who would act to protect the earth, we take comfort in the assurance of the poet that our earth will see again on NTA Fine Face. NTA News.
Thank you very much, Onengia, for that report. Now, state governors in Nigeria have called for the decentralization of the COVID-19 response as the best chance of nipping the spread of the virus in communities. At the end of the teleconference held under the auspices of the Nigeria Governors Forum, the governors noted that the following an update from the Presidential Task Force on the rising COVID-19 cases in the country. Members expressed serious concern over the rising spread of the virus among the health workers and resolved to work with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control that health workers are adequately provided with personal protective equipment, PPE, and are consistently trained on the use of protective gears. The forum also received briefing on the governors of Lagos, Bauchi, Oyo, and Ogun State, who shared their experiences and lessons from the fight against COVID-19. The governors unanimously agreed to the implementation of an interstate lockdown in the country over the next 2 weeks to mitigate the spread of the virus from the state to state. Only essential services will be permitted.
Now, World Earth Day is commemorated annually. What, however, makes this year's unique is the fact that the year 2020 makes it 50 years of the observance of this year. Interesting very much. Now, this exciting feat demands that drums roll and series of rallies resonate to amplify the vision of the environmental movement to save the earth. However, the day was marked in a different day because of the coronavirus pandemic. Jennifer Igwe tells us more about that.
COVID-19 pandemic has shown the need for more actions to promote a green and healthy environment.
We must act decisively to protect our planet from both the coronavirus and the existential threat of climate disruption. The current crisis is an unprecedented wake-up call. We need to turn the recovery into a real opportunity to do things right for the future.
All around the world, the Earth Day was celebrated devoid of pollution. Now, COVID-19 is indeed redefining the way we do things. In the past, celebrating Mother Earth Day would have been a big event, especially as this year marks the 50th anniversary of the global move. But all around the world, the celebration is online. Tweet chats, webinars, and other social media interaction was the tone for the celebration, and environmentalists emphasized the need for a greener world.
So it means that we really don't have to be all in one place. Communication, I can tell you, is ongoing and more vigorously now, because we see that if we do not take action now, we, at the end of the day, will lose out. We will be the ones most impacted, as we are seeing right now. The earth, quietly, continuously, consistently, is not stopping.
In this park in Lagos, environment activists gathered to plant trees, one each representing lives that have been lost to the coronavirus pandemic. In Lagos, Jennifer Igwe, NTA News.
Many thanks, Jennifer. Now, this year, 2020, marks the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and it was celebrated yesterday, Wednesday, April 22nd. Now, in the studio to discuss Earth Day 2020 in the midst of coronavirus is Dr. John Osonwa, an environment and climate change expert. Many thanks for being with us on the news at 10, Dr. John.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, so Earth Day in the face of COVID-19. What are the implications of coronavirus on Earth Day, and how was it celebrated yesterday? Bearing in mind that with everybody staying indoors and the lockdown and all of that, the pollution and all of that somewhere in the Niger Delta and elsewhere in the world seem to have been abated to a certain degree.
That is true. It was devoid of the usual fanfare that we see. Historically, the Earth Day celebration comes with a lot of excitement and things happening in the parks, in the gardens, people planting trees outside. So this year we didn't have that fanfare, of course, because the whole world is on lockdown right now. But there was digital action. There was a lot of movement online to create awareness. Remember that the sole purpose of Earth Day is to energize ordinary folks to begin to do the little things that they can do to preserve the earth and reverse the trend that we're seeing. So this year we didn't have the fanfare that we usually have, but people are connecting with one another to sensitize, to energize, and to redefine our engagement with the earth.
All right, Dr. John, you know, Earth Day allows us to mark the connection we have with nature, plants, and of course land. And it reminds us how important how important it is to our health and our wellness. So how has the threat of coronavirus affected us as a major part of our world is homebound?
In the short term, coronavirus has had a beneficial impact on the earth, in the sense that we're seeing decreased carbon emissions all over the world. We are seeing reduced pollution in cities that used to be very polluted. Some of the cities in Asia, prior to the onset of coronavirus, didn't have very clean air quality. In some cities, you had to wear masks to move around because of smog. But now we are seeing that there's a clearing of the smog because industrial production has pretty much ground to a halt. Vehicular traffic is also drastically reduced. Planes are not fueling and flying with the same frequency that we used to see. So the earth is breathing a sigh of relief. Even our waters are becoming cleaner. The Venice canals, for instance, for the first time in recorded history, are so clear you can see because the tourists that used to troop in there are not coming again. So there is a sense of relief. But the question now becomes, how can we sustain the momentum that we have gained, even though it happened inadvertently, that we're cleaning the earth? We were not very deliberate in doing that, but COVID-19 has forced us to do that. Can we sustain that moving forward?
Dr. John, I'm quite impressed with that. You did mention that the earth is breathing a sigh of relief. Some would want to call it that the earth is having a rebirth. But many activities like, this year's climate conference has been suspended due to the ravaging coronavirus pandemic. What does that mean for the planned climate action this year? And how has COVID-19, of course, affected climate activities, around the globe?
Yes, that is the flip side of what we're seeing. Because of the lockdown and the inability of flights to operate, some of the global conferences and events that ordinarily we would have had this year are now being postponed. So that is going to have a slowing down effect in terms of reaching agreements, in terms of energizing action, in terms of getting more financial commitment. And again, because most of our resources are now being channeled towards contending with the COVID-19 crisis, whether in terms of health services or stimulus packages or bailouts or what, all these things, coupled with the fact that countries are not generating as much revenue as they used to because businesses are shut down. So that is going to have an impact on the funding that will be directed to climate action. So that's not a very good thing for us. However, I think that we are going to see the same unity and commitment that we have put to fighting COVID. If we put that into climate action, I think we will catalyze a lot of positive action that people can be very proud of years from now.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Osongwa, an environment and climate change expert. We appreciate you so much for being with us on the news at 10 this morning. All right, you're still watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. When we return,
Governor Nasir El-Rufai tests negative for COVID-19 after 4 weeks of quarantine and strict medication.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Glad to have you back with us. Now, in the meantime, Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has requested for certification of more COVID-19 testing centers in the state.
The governor made the appeal when the Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu, was on an assessment tour of COVID-19 facility in the state. Coyote reports.
Facilities procured at the Olodo Infectious Disease Center, the Director General of NCDC noted that the medical equipment at the center will not only serve your state, but the country at large.
Working together with the WHO support, the NCDC support, and all aspects of government, we can really create a great example for the country here in Ibadan.
Hosting the officials of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and the World Health Organization's representatives, Governor Makinde reiterated that one of the measures to curb the spread of COVID-19 is to establish more laboratories for testing of the virus.
The fact that we want to do mass testing, our aspiration is actually to test 10,000 people within the shortest possible time. So we need your support.
The Director General of Nigeria Disease Control was in Oyo State to evaluate the steps taken by the state government in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic in Ibadan. Kayode Oladushu, NTA News.
And Governor Nasir El-Rufai has tested negative for COVID-19 after 4 weeks of quarantine and strict medication.
The governor confirmed this through a non-conventional video broadcast to the people of Kaduna State. Mohammed Umar Ajingi reports.
While confirming his test results, expressed happiness over the spontaneous messages of concern and solidarity from all Nigerians, and particularly applauded the professional commitment of his handlers from the State Ministry of Health and Borodiko Teaching Hospital, Kaduna. Describing his deputy and chairperson of the State COVID-19 Standing Committee, Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, as highly resourceful.
We must all work hard to ensure that we keep coronavirus or COVID-19 out of Kaduna State. We have lower infection rates than expected due to the stringent measures we imposed very early in our state. But we cannot let our guards down. We live in dangerous times. This disease is a threat to our humanity, our lives, and our livelihoods. As someone that has experienced it, I will not wish it on my worst enemy.
Governor El-Rufai therefore restated his commitment to ensure more proactive curtailing of the pandemic in Kaduna State through more stringent preventive measures and treatment of the few that fall victim to the virus. In Kaduna, I am Muhammad Umar Ajingi.
I apologize for the low audio quality in parts of that report. Now, moving forward, contrary to the belief of many that testing positive for coronavirus is death sentence, survivors of the virus say overcoming the infection, among other issues, measures including boosting self-immunity and regular exercise before, during, and after the episode in order to avoid degeneration to full-blown disease. Funke Ibidomito reports.
The news of Governor Seyi Makinde testing positive for coronavirus alongside other high-profile individuals in Ibadan no doubt further entrenched the awareness and the need for individual protection against COVID-19. With about 16 cases of confirmed coronavirus in Oyo State, it seems the people are quite aware of the deadly and devastating consequences of coronavirus. Although the town is not under total lockdown, the people say they know that this disease is here and they are self-protecting.
By washing my hand time to time frequently, and then by applying nose cover on my face.
According to what the NCDC said, they said we should sanitize our hand and the usage of nose masks.
With the subsequent negative result for COVID-19 and coming out of quarantine, the survivors are back on their beats. The Chief Medical Director of the University College Hospital UCH Ibadan, Professor Jesse Abiodun Otegbayo, and Provost College of Medicine, University of Ibadan, Professor Olapade Olaokpa, recount their experiences.
The line of treatment was not actually the antiviral treatment, that is, because for now there's no specific drug that is known to work for the virus. There's so much that is yet to be known about the virus itself, let alone its treatment. So it's an evolving scenario. So what I did in terms of taking a balanced diet, taking a lot of fluids, exercising, and taking some vitamin supplements were just ways of boosting my immune system.
The issue was to stay healthy. So to my mind, that was both a mental thing. So I stayed mentally strong. Like I said, I was working, I was raising funds, I was discussing with my colleagues. So that helped me stay strong mentally. Physically, I was doing things within my house. I was exercising. I actually succeeded in losing 5 kilos, which I've been struggling with.
Although both patients remained asymptomatic all through the period of quarantine, they called on lifestyle changes in the fight against COVID-19. In Ibadan, Funke Ibidomito, NTA News.
Well, we do apologize for the low audio quality in some parts of our report there. Now, health conditions are now being viewed differently with the present situation of COVID-19, which has seen the common cold, flu and cough scrutinized by medical personnel. Speaking on NTA's Current Affairs program, Nigeria Today, President Nigerian Medical Association Dr. Francis Adebayo Fadoile highlighted the danger medical doctors face every day to the pandemic. The doctor reiterated on the importance of health personnel attached to his patient, but however say insufficient equipment to handle the current situation of COVID-19 has made it daring for health workers and have to be extra careful when handling the patients.
What they needed to do. And for them to be well motivated, you need to provide all the equipment that they needed to be able to get this health going.
He went on to emphasize that personal protective equipment is highly essential, as such the health sector, as has it everywhere, should be properly funded, as it is the central point of any society.
I want them to be able to put good money into health, because nobody is immune from being falling sick at any time. So if we can have a strong health system, I can tell you that the economy of the country will go further. Even those who want to go and do the security, they need good health. So I can tell you, we need a very good support to the health system.
Nigeria Today airs live every weekday at 7:30 on NTA News 24.
Now, information in isolation and quarantine for those who are infected with COVID-19. Good hygiene practice and social distancing is widely spread as the best known way to manage the disease. Regardless, ventilators are an integral medical equipment in the treatment of COVID-19. High-risk patients. In this next report, correspondent Olushe Adiagbo finds out the unique features of these instruments and what are the bottlenecks in acquiring sufficiency in this regard.
You may have heard of how much COVID-19 is wreaking havoc on humanity, but specifically exposing the gaps in healthcare infrastructure, thereby hampering effective healthcare delivery all over the world. The good news is that COVID-19 have also put healthcare managers and partners on their toes all across the world. National governments and authorities in healthcare have been working to identify the gaps and measure to address them. At home, a major perceived gap in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic is inadequate intensive care unit ICU, equipped with ventilators across the country, which is a major complement in the management of COVID-19 positive critical patients.
We have never had many cases that requires assisted ventilation, but unfortunately, this illness has come up to show the healthcare weakness.
This is one of the private hospitals in Abuja that boasts of an intensive care unit ICU with well-equipped ventilators and advanced patient monitor. Dr. Mohamed Nababa is a consultant anesthetist and head of the ICU. He says although the ICU renders machine-based, human experts is critical.
The moment the patient responds to what you are giving in terms of ventilatory support, there are also indications to wean off patients off ventilator. So ventilator on its own, it's one part. The professional that does the setting and the treatment, that's on the other part as well.
Patient being on mechanical ventilator is not a regular person cannot just manage that person. It takes a critical care nurse, an intensive care nurse, to take care of the patient, know when the parameters are going abnormal, know when the patient is deteriorating, and know when to act and when to invite other teams to act to.
I think the whole of this country, there are not more than 3 nursing ICU nursing school. It means it's such an important field that we must train the staff.
Dr. Otabo Christopher believes experience of COVID-19 could reverse the prevailing narratives on health delivery in the country.
I can tell you that the number of ventilators that has come into this country in the last 1 month would be probably 5 times more than the total number of ventilators that have been existing before now. So we are back to the fire brigade approach, so where everything is done on the spur of the moment. We are supposed to have sustainable investment in healthcare over the years.
Dr. Otabo acknowledges the huge financial implications involved in setting up an ICU, but prefers a possible way out.
Going forward, maybe in the next budget, we would see a reversal whereby healthcare budgeting should get the desired place. I like what the CBN governor did recently. Created access to cheap funds for expansion of private hospitals and a purchase of medical equipment. That should be the standing thing.
He equally called for an all-inclusive approach to rid the nation of this deadly virus and also address other high-risk public health issues. In Abuja, Olushe Adiagbo, NTA News.
Thank you, Cher, for that report. Now, the World Health Organization sees the media as a partner in the global fight against COVID-19 that has become a major threat to the social and economic well-being of the people around the world.
Amina Baba Suleiman in this report looks at journalists as one of the frontliners in the war against COVID-19.
Nigeria, like other countries of the world, is at war with the invading virus that has claimed the lives of more than 170,000 people worldwide. People are directed to stay indoors while medical personnel put their lives on the line to treat those infected with the COVID-19. Just like their counterparts in the health sector, journalists are also at the war front. As the World Health Organization describes, media as crucial in dealing with the pandemic. As people say, information is like a light in the darkness for the people who seek to know the truth about the world around them.
We are even on high risk, like including the health workers. We are almost on the same level with them because we are exposed to this virus on daily basis.
And what the Nigerian Air Force is doing.
Naja'atu Tijani is a defense correspondent with the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. She says news coverage is engaging, just like being in the war front, because it has to be on point. Unbiased, the truth, and nothing but the truths.
When you talk about COVID-19 in terms of it being an unseen enemy, and in the field you have to take every precaution. Just like when a soldier is going into battle, he has to be well prepared, he has to have his weapons, he has to have his strategy. For us now, our weapons are the hand washing, social distancing. These are the weapons of should I say, destruction of COVID-19.
Just like Naja'atu, Onengie Fineface is a reporter covering environments. He told me that his job now doubles, unlike before the outbreak of coronavirus pandemic, as he has to make his report addresses the needs of people apart from just informing and entertaining.
We go out to the field, we face frontline encounters. Areas that people dread to go to, we get to just to make sure that we keep Nigerians informed.
Other reporters who share same position like Dr. Fineface emphasize that journalists, including photographers and video camera operators, are prone to contracting the virus.
The federal government, the NCDC, they have given guidelines for us to be followed, and I'm adhering to that directive completely to ensure I'm safe at this particular moment.
Every day meeting people and going back home, I feel, this fear of the disease, it's always there. I come to office, I know that so many reporters must have gone out and came back. You don't know who they met and all that. The fear, is just there.
It's quite unfortunate that the coronavirus is here. So many people are not having the correct information and the necessary information concerning the whole thing. But thank God, the social media and conventional media out there, trying to give the information that is necessary to the public.
Our job of reporting and covering events that has to do with COVID-19 and other national issues is crucial at this period. While on duty, we pray for God's protection. Amina Baba Suleiman, NTA News.
Of course, thank you, Aminada. We must stay safe while disseminating the information. And in dealing with the pandemic, little things like handshake and hugging must be avoided now that the handful treatment for COVID-19 is still on. So market days in the Federal Capital Territory are now only on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
But the distinction between neighborhood and major markets is a bone of contention, and the observance of non-contact-based interaction in the marketplace is another kettle of fish. Mayor Ogidi monitored market activities in the FCT yesterday, Wednesday.
Traffic in a city on lockdown, but driving closer tells the reason. It's Wednesday, the COVID-19 induced market day in the Federal Capital Territory. And here is Garuki Area 2 Neighborhood Market. The message at the entrance is, please wear your face mask and hand gloves while entering the market. Quite heartwarming, but adherence to this message is disheartening. Some entering the market without the requirements.
The question is Utako Garki markets still part of the neighborhood market? So, of course, the answer is no, they are not.
That is a clarification coming from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Otako market is not a neighborhood market, but both neighbors and non-neighbors flooded the market this Wednesday. Population was high. Money and goods exchanging bare hands. But the managers of the market justified their action.
we have approval to open Wednesdays and Saturdays. It's a neighbor market because it's within the villages.
If you go to Wuse from zone 1 to zone 7, you cannot find any single neighborhood market dealing with groceries. Okay, so they serve dual purposes. Okay, they could be central, they could be neighborhood.
Obviously, there is need for reconciliation on the categorization of neighborhood markets. Taking a look at Kugbo Furniture Market from the skies, one may conclude is on lockdown, but from the plains gives another view. Partial business activities are ongoing.
Not partially open, the market is totally shut down. Did you see any business going on? Nobody's opening, nobody's doing business.
Everyone coming up with his or her own justification in the business arena. Justifications that may give the dreaded coronavirus a free ride in the marketplace. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari felicitates with the Emir of Ilorin, His Royal Highness Alhaji Ibrahim Sule Gambari, on the joyous occasion of his 80th birthday anniversary. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says President Buhari joins indigents of Kwara State in general and Ilorin Emirate in particular in celebrating the milestone with the eminent monarch. The President affirms that the former presiding justice of the Court of Appeal has remained a strong pillar of support to all governments since he assumed the throne of his forefathers in 1995 as the 11th Emir of Ilorin. President Buhari prayed God to grant the traditional ruler more years of worthy service to his people and humanity in good health.
And the Emir of Ilorin and Chairman, Kwara State Council of Emirs and Obas, Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, has been described as an exemplary leader whose reign has brought enduring peace and unprecedented multi-dimensional progress to Ilorin Emirate and Kwara State in general. This commendation is contained in a congratulatory message sent to the monarch on his 80th birthday by the national president of the Ilorin Emirate Descendants Progressive Union, Aliyu Othman, while wishing the Emir many more years of good health and fruitful service to humanity on the respected throne. Othman assured the monarch of the continued and unwavering loyalty of members of the Union and the generality of the good people in Ilorin Emirate community.
Now, the Surveyor General of the Federation, Samuel Adeniran Taiwo, commiserates with the President, Federal Executive Council, and the immediate family of late Chief of Staff to the President, Abba Kyari. The Surveyor General notes that the late Chief of Staff was a man of administrative tact and an accomplished technocrat with the level of experience needed to help the government consolidate on the gains of the Buhari administration. He adds that the death of Malam Kyari will be felt for a long time to come, given his rich antecedents, and praise Almighty God to grant his soul peace and a peaceful repose.
Plateau State Governor and Chairman of the Northern States Governors Forum, Simon Bakolalong, has condoled with family of former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Richard Akinjide. Governor Lalong, in a condolence message, described the legal icon as a man who made remarkable impacts on the country and affected its polity positively, especially as a Minister of Education in the First Republic, Minister of Justice and Attorney General in the Second Republic, as well as a member of the 1975 to 1977 Constitutional Drafting Committee, among other responsibilities he carried out. The governor said although the death of the legal luminary is a painful loss, the legacies he left behind and the testimonies of many people he mentored and impacted will remain fresh and propel others to follow his footsteps. Lalong prayed that God Almighty will grant his soul eternal rest and comfort his family.
It's now time to go over to our sports desk to get an update. Stay with us.